The conversation that ended my marriage started over a casual dinner at my in-laws' house. We were eating Carol's famous pot roast when she pulled out glossy cruise brochures and spread them across the table like she was dealing cards. "Look at these Mediterranean packages," she exclaimed, her eyes gleaming. "Frank and I have decided it's finally time for our dream vacation." "That's wonderful," I said, genuinely happy for them. After 40 years of marriage, they deserved a nice trip. "We're so glad you think so," Frank said, leaning back in his chair with a satisfied smile. "Because you're paying for it." I laughed, thinking it was one of his awkward jokes. Frank was notorious for his bad timing and worse humor, but nobody else was laughing. My husband Nathan was staring at his plate. Carol was watching me expectantly. "I'm sorry, what?" I said, my fork suspended halfway to my mouth. "Your tax refund," Carol said, as if explaining something to a child. "Nathan told us you're getting $8,000 back. That's exactly what the cruise costs. It's like fate." "My name is Monica, and I'm a 32-year-old nurse practitioner. I'd been married to Nathan for 4 years, together for 6, when we met. I was already established in my career while he was between opportunities. I didn't mind supporting us while he figured things out. Love makes you do optimistic things like believe someone who's been figuring things out for 3 years will eventually figure them out." "Nathan told you about our tax refund?" I asked, looking at my husband. He finally met my eyes. "It's not a secret, Mon, they're family. Nathan has already promised us the money," Carol added, patting my hand like I was a good dog who'd performed a trick. "We've even put a deposit down on the cruise. Non-refundable, of course." "You put a deposit down on a cruise with my tax refund?" I couldn't keep the incredulity out of my voice. "Our tax refund," Nathan corrected. "We're married. What's yours is mine." "Funny how that only applies to my income," I muttered. "What was that?" Frank's voice had an edge to it now. "I said it's funny how that only works one way. When I needed help with my student loans, nobody offered to pay those. When my car broke down last year, I handled it myself. But now that I'm getting a refund from the taxes I paid on the income one earned, suddenly it's ours and you've already spent it?" Carol's face flushed. "How dare you bring up money we don't have? We're retired, living on a fixed income. Do you have any idea how hard it was raising Nathan?" "I imagine it was exactly as hard as raising any other child," I said, "which is to say, it was your choice and your responsibility." "Our sacrifice," Frank boomed, slapping the table. "We sacrificed everything for our children. We deserve this vacation. We've earned it." "You earned a vacation by having children? By doing what billions of parents do every day?" "Mon, stop," Nathan said quietly. "You're being disrespectful." "Disrespectful?" I stood up, my hands shaking. "Your parents are demanding my tax refund for a cruise, and I'm being disrespectful?" "We're not demanding," Carol said in a wounded tone. "We're collecting what we're owed. All those years of feeding Nathan, clothing him, putting a roof over his head, private school, soccer camp, college tuition, community college," I corrected, "which he dropped out of, twice." "That's not the point," Nathan snapped. "The point is they're my parents and they deserve a vacation. Why are you being so selfish about this?" I looked at the three of them, my husband and his parents, united in their certainty that I owed them my money because they'd performed the basic functions of parenthood. "You know what?" I said, picking up my purse. "You're right. This is all about what people deserve, and I deserve better than this." "Where are you going?" Nathan called as I headed for the door. "To think about my priorities, and to call my accountant about filing my taxes separately." "You can't do that," Carol shrieked. "We already put the deposit down." "Then you better hope they take refunds," I said, and left. The drive home was a blur of anger and hurt. I'd known Nathan's parents were entitled, but this was beyond anything I'd imagined. They genuinely believed that raising their own child meant I owed them a vacation, and Nathan agreed with them. When I got home, Nathan was already there, pacing the living room like a caged animal. "How could you embarrass me like that?" he started before I even closed the door, storming out like a child. "How could you promise them my money without asking me?" "Our money," he shouted. "God, Monica, when did you become so obsessed with keeping score?" When I realized I was the only one putting points on the board, I shot back. "Nathan, I've been supporting us for 4 years. I pay the rent, the utilities, the groceries, your car insurance. Because you make more money. Because I have a job. You've been looking for the right opportunity since before we got married. That's not fair. The job market is tough." "For 4 years, Nathan, the gas station down the street has had a help wanted sign up for 6 months, but every job is beneath you. isn't it? Better to let your wife support you while you wait for the perfect opportunity that never comes. At least my parents appreciate what I bring to the table, he said coldly. What table? The one I paid for? In the apartment I rent? With the food I buy? I laughed bitterly. What exactly do you bring to any table, Nathan? I bring love, support, understanding. You bring your parents' hands into my wallet. They deserve that vacation, he said stubbornly, after everything they've done. Everything they've done? They raised their own child. That's not a debt I have to pay. If you loved me, you'd do this for them. I stared at him, really looked at him for the first time in years, not the potential I'd fallen in love with, but the reality, a 34-year-old man who'd never held a job for more than 6 months, who ran to his parents with our financial information, who genuinely believed I owed his parents a cruise for the crime of birthing him. You're right, I said quietly. If I loved you, I'd do it. Good thing I'm falling out of love pretty fast. His face went white. You don't mean that. I filed for separation this morning. I lied, but I'd make it true first thing tomorrow. I'll be staying with my sister until I can find my own place. Monica, wait, let's talk about this. I'm sure we can compromise. Compromise? What's the compromise here, Nathan? I pay for half their cruise? I pay for their airfare? Where's the line where I stop owing your parents for your existence? I already told them they could have the money, he said desperately. They'll be crushed. Then you better get a job and earn $8,000 real fast. I packed a bag while Nathan alternated between pleading and threatening. His phone rang constantly. Carol, no doubt, wanting updates on her cruise fund. She'll call the IRS, Nathan said at one point. She'll report you for tax fraud. For what? Filing my own taxes? That's not fraud, Nathan, that's my right. We're married, you have to file jointly. No, actually, I don't. Especially not when I'm the only one with income. Funny how you never researched tax law before, but suddenly you're an expert when your mommy's cruise is on the line. I stayed with my sister Kate that night. She'd never liked Nathan, and hearing the full story made her livid. They actually thought you'd just hand over $8,000 for a cruise? She kept saying, because they didn't abandon their child? The bar is underground. The next morning, I met with my lawyer and filed for separation. I also called my accountant and confirmed I could file taxes separately. Smart move, he said, especially since your husband has no income. Filing jointly would actually reduce your refund because of the standard deduction. Separately, you'll get the full amount you're owed. Wait, I'm getting more by filing separately? About $1,500 more. Actually, his zero income was dragging down your refund. I couldn't help but laugh. The irony was delicious. The text started that afternoon. Carol had apparently gotten my number from Nathan's phone. You're destroying this family over money, so materialistic. We already told our friends about the cruise. How can we face them now? Nathan is heartbroken. I hope you're happy. We'll sue you for alienation of affection and theft of promised funds. That last one made me laugh so hard I screenshot it for my lawyer, who also found it hilarious. Promised funds? She chuckled. From a tax refund that hasn't even been processed yet? For raising their own child? I've seen a lot, but this is a new level of entitlement. Nathan tried a different approach, sending long, emotional texts about our love and our future. How could I throw away 4 years over one disagreement? Didn't I remember our wedding vows? Didn't I care about his mental health? Your mental health seemed fine when you were promising my money to your parents. I texted back, then blocked his number. 3 days later, the real panic set in. Without my income, Nathan couldn't pay any bills. His parents, despite their demands for cruise money, weren't offering to help with rent or utilities. The apartment complex called me because Nathan had tried to pay rent with a check that bounced. Ma'am, we need payment by the end of the week or we'll start eviction proceedings, the manager informed me. I'm separated from my husband and no longer live there, I explained. I've already removed my name from the lease. This is his responsibility now. Oh, well, he listed you as his emergency contact and financial guarantor. Not anymore. You'll need to work with him directly. That evening, Nathan showed up at Kate's house. She wouldn't let him in, but he stood on the porch, visible through the security camera, looking pathetic. Monica, please, I can't afford the apartment. I don't have anywhere to go. Have you tried getting a job? Kate called through the door. I hear they exchange labor for money. This isn't funny. My parents are furious. They're saying I ruined their retirement dreams. Their retirement dreams depend on your wife's tax refund? Kate shot back. Maybe they should have saved better. You know, like responsible adults. Monica, Nathan pleaded. Just give them half. Keep half for yourself. That's fair, right? I finally went to the door, though I didn't open it. Nathan, do you hear yourself? You're trying to negotiate how much of my money to give your parents. Not our money, mine, from my job, that I earned, while you sat at home networking on LinkedIn. I've been looking for jobs. For 4 years? I've seen your browser history. Nathan, you spend more time on gaming forums than job sites. That's invasion of privacy. On the computer I bought? With the internet I pay for? Try again. He left eventually, but not before his mother called Kate's phone, screaming about lawsuits and elder abuse and how I was stealing from seniors. Kate put her on speaker so I could hear. Elder abuse? Kate said incredulously. You're 62 and playing golf 3 times a week. You're not elderly, you're just entitled. How dare you? We gave you our son. Nobody asked for him, Kate shot back, and based on what I'm seeing, you can have him back. Returns are always accepted in original condition, unemployed and living with mommy. The call ended with Carol threatening to call the police, the FBI, and the president if necessary. We laughed, but I made sure to document everything for my lawyer. A week later, Nathan was evicted from our apartment. He moved back in with his parents, who were suddenly less eager to have their precious son around when he came with bills instead of benefits. The cruise was cancelled, though they lost their deposit, a fact Carol made sure to post about on Facebook, tagging me as the selfish daughter-in-law who destroyed our dreams. The comments on her post didn't go the way she expected. Most people were shocked that she'd expected her daughter-in-law's tax refund. Several pointed out that raising your own children isn't a loan to be repaid. One particularly savage comment read, "So you're saying you only had kids as a retirement investment? That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." She deleted the post within hours, but the screenshots lived on in my group chat with friends. My $8,000 tax refund, which turned out to be $9,500 thanks to filing separately, went exactly where I'd planned: $5,000 to my student loans, $3,000 to savings, and $1,500 for a solo vacation to Costa Rica. The remaining $1,000 went toward first month's rent on my new apartment. I posted pictures from Costa Rica on Instagram, ziplining through the rainforest, relaxing on pristine beaches, enjoying sunset dinners for one. I didn't tag Nathan or his parents, but mutual friends ensured they saw them. Nathan texted from his mom's phone, "I hope you're happy flaunting that money while my parents suffer." Your parents are suffering because they raised an entitled son who thinks his wife owes them a vacation. I replied, "I'm thriving because I no longer have 3 adults treating me like an ATM. So yes, I'm very happy." The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Nathan tried to claim alimony, arguing that he'd sacrificed career opportunities to support my success. The judge actually laughed. "Mr. Nathan, can you provide evidence of any career opportunities you turned down?" "Well, no, but I was emotionally supporting her." "While she financially supported you, for 4 years. Motion denied. Nathan's parents showed up at the courthouse, apparently planning to testify about how much I owed them for raising him. The judge shut that down immediately. "Ma'am, sir, your son is 34 years old. Whatever you spent raising him is between you and him, not his soon-to-be ex-wife. Please sit down." After the divorce, I heard through mutual friends that Nathan was still living with his parents, still unemployed, still waiting for the right opportunity. Carol and Frank, meanwhile, had to take out a loan for a much more modest vacation, a week in Florida instead of 2 weeks in the Mediterranean. They posted passive-aggressive photos with captions like "making the best of what we have." Despite disappointments and some people forget what family means, the comments were brutal, with most people pointing out that they seem to have forgotten what parenting means. A year later, I ran into Nathan at a grocery store. He was buying generic brand everything while I was loading up for a dinner party I was hosting. He looked older, defeated, wearing a polo shirt with a fast food logo. "So you finally got a job," I said, not unkindly. "Yeah, well, turns out the right opportunity wasn't coming." He shifted uncomfortably. "Mom and Dad make me pay rent now. Can you believe that? My own parents." "Yes, Nathan, I can believe parents would expect their adult son to contribute to household expenses. Wild concept. I guess I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "I get it now, working, paying bills, being responsible. It's hard. It was always hard. You just never noticed because I was doing it for both of us." "Do you think?" he started, then stopped. "Never mind, I know the answer." "Good luck, Nathan," I said, meaning it. "I hope you figure it out." As I walked away with my cart full of ingredients for my dinner party, in my apartment, that I paid for, with my money, I felt nothing but relief. The $8,000 tax refund that started this whole mess had been spent long ago, but what I'd gained was priceless: freedom from a man who saw me as his personal bank, and in-laws who believed their basic parenting deserved a luxury cruise. Sometimes I think about Carol and Frank, still bitter about their lost Mediterranean dream. They raised a son who couldn't support himself, then expected his wife to fund their retirement. They genuinely believed that feeding and clothing their own child for 18 years entitled them to my earnings forever. But here's what I learned: just because someone calls you family doesn't mean they get to call your bank. Love isn't measured in dollars given to in-laws, and marriage isn't a subscription service where you pay for your spouse's existence plus a retirement plan for their parents. My tax refund was mine, my income was mine, my future was mine, and anyone who thought otherwise could take their own cruise right out of my life. If you're watching this and facing similar demands, remember, you don't owe your in-laws for raising their children. That was their job. Your job is to protect your financial future, set boundaries, and never let anyone convince you that basic parenting is a debt you need to repay. Some people deserve vacations, some people deserve tax refunds, and some people deserve to figure out that their 34-year-old unemployed son isn't anyone else's responsibility but their own. Thank you for watching my story. File your taxes separately if you need to, and never let anyone guilt you into funding their dreams with your reality.